Well, the Amazon Synod has started in Rome. If you've been following, you are probably well aware that it is creating quite a scandal. How or why, you might ask? In this podcast, Chris, Mike, Brooke, and myself answer this question as we delve into the topic of papolatry in the Amazon Synod.
Welcome to the podcast.
Chris hasn't even had his whiskey yet.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, it's right there.
Here's to you, Amazon Synod.
Whoa.
Oh.
That is not 40 Creek.
Yeah. It's actually, it tastes stronger than 40 Creek. So that was Canadian Club.
Mm-hmm.
Straight out of Windsor.
Yep.
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, pretty great.
Cool.
So, welcome to the Theology of the Buddy podcast. We're really excited you're here. I'm Chris.
I'm Julie.
I'm Brooke.
And I'm Michael.
Happy
Mike.
Michaelmas.
Yeah.
Can someone tell us the whole thing about Michaelmas? Give us a brief over.
Well, where do you want me to start?
What is it? What's the Feast of Michaelmas all about? Enlighten our listeners.
Have you heard of St. Michael?
No.
It's about him.
Really?
Yeah. The dedication of St. Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you know in the new calendar, it's all archangels? They changed it.
That's not fair.
It's not Michaelmas anymore. It's Feast
Angelmas.
of the Archangels.
Archangelmas.
Yeah. Gabriel, Raphael, Michaelmas.
Gabriel Miss. Raphael Miss.
Gab, Raph, Michaelmas.
Raph Gab Michaelmas.
That's good.
Yeah. So, happy Michaelmas.
Happy
Yeah.
Michaelmas.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty great today at Mass. By the way, it'll be 2 weeks from Michaelmas when people are listening to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not Happy Michaelmas to them. It's Happy Michaelmas to them in the past.
Yeah.
We hope you had a blessed Michaelmas when you went
2
through
weeks ago.
Yeah.
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 It was pretty great though. There was a great hymn today at our
Yeah.
parish.
Yeah, it was really cool.
What was it called?
Thou Royal Knight from Courts on High.
It was so good.
Never heard it before, but
Nope.
it was great.
Yeah.
Especially the one line that said, "Michael is our battle cry."
Yeah.
I had to laugh.
And I was just listening to it, and all I could think was Dwight on The Office. Michael! That's not exactly how the angels charged into battle.
No.
Just picture
There's a bunch of Dwights.
Michael.
Michael.
Oh, that's funny. Michael!
Awesome. So, this is completely random.
You need a snack to wash that whiskey down,
Yeah.
don't you? Chris?
So, you guys, this is... Hold on.
You guys have to close your eyes.
Yeah, you gotta close your eyes for this.
I'm scared.
I'm so nervous.
Okay. So, I went to a store yesterday, and I got some unique treats.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna give one to each of you.
Yep.
And you get to tell me what flavor this is.
Oh, no.
Oh, this is like on, what's that show with Gordon Ramsay where
gotta
it is
wait.
the
Put your hand out, Mike.
I'm so nervous.
Hell's Kitchen.
Is it going to be really spicy?
Well, you'll find out.
No. I promise it's not spicy.
Can Mike eat his first?
No,
This
you
is
eat
now-
them at the same time.
Julie, you have to eat one too.
I did yesterday.
No, we'll all eat one.
Okay.
Oh, Julie, you dropped yours.
Yeah, I'm scared because they
to
did
have
this on Hell's Kitchen, and professional chefs couldn't
No,
even
let's do it
identify
together.
hot dogs.
Solidarity with our friends.
Okay.
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 So so we're gonna take a bite and then, or eat all of it, and then tell me what you taste.
Okay.
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 Are we going to go around the table? So Mike first and then myself?
No, just the same time.
You just say
Okay,
it when
okay.
when you figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
3,
so-
2, 1.
What?
You can see the faces. It's
I got it.
amazing.
Mine's been scrunched up since yesterday.
I think I got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think it is?
Sushi.
Nope.
No.
It's like seaweed soy sauce?
There's
Nope.
like
No.
a cucumber kind of
Yeah, yes.
taste to it.
I'm tasting like a California roll. That's what it makes me think of.
Okay, open your
You
eyes.
guys are in way too specific.
You just I don't know.
Oh, it's actually just cucumber chips.
Cucumber flavored.
Yeah.
Lay's.
It actually does taste a lot like a cucumber roll.
Like a kapamaki, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like, this is like Japanese cucumber flavor.
That's so
like it's
cool. It
Japanese
does
Lay's.
taste just like cucumber.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, do you want another one?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Great.
5 minutes later.
So, that was to whet your palate for the real steak dinner we're about to dig into now.
I see what you did there. And I love it.
So, let's talk. So, things are crazy right now in the church, and things are getting even crazier.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who have kind of gone from the Novus Ordo world into a more traditional setting, it's become incredibly troubling. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. Like, I don't know
That
how I
works.
would have experienced it or looked at it 10 years ago, but I find it incredibly alarming now.
Just the overall situation
Yeah,
in the
and
church.
especially in light of the Amazon Synod that's coming
Yeah.
up. There's so much happening, and it's moving so fast. And there are some very key players that are trying to get their hands into this and seemingly appear to make changes in the church. So one of the things, though, that we see kind of online in our conversations and maybe in our real lives too, is kind of this dichotomy. I don't know if that's the word. Like these different factions of Catholics who are either on the extreme side, or I don't know. Like there's all kind of different camps. Like, how would you describe it, Mike?
In terms of the like how you treat the authority of the Pope and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Maybe I didn't intro that as well as I should have.
no, that's all right. It's kind of like there's kind of like what used to be kind of the conservative Catholics, I guess, from JP2 Benedict era, where we're used to having a pope whose words are pretty much orthodox, at least in their writings and stuff like that. And they've kind of split nowadays. Like, there's some who are more critical, and then there's others who seem to have increased in their devotion to the Pope to an unhealthy level, I would say.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're addressing here, is people have started calling it the new papalatry. And it's become a big thing on social media recently in reaction to the stuff released from Burke and Schneider, Cardinal Burke and Bishop Schneider, their criticisms of the Instrumentum Laboris of the Amazon Synod, and well, to some extent, like the dubia as well. But yeah, it seems like it's really come out after the recent Instrumentum Laboris criticism.
Yeah.
And all the talk about schism and stuff. There are people who unabashedly are saying any criticism of the Instrumentum Laboris or saying it has errors means you're a schismatic, and openly accusing Cardinal Burke of schism, stuff like that, which I find insane. The way I kind of break it down, and this comes from Eric Salmon's article on 1 Peter 5, is he talks about the old papalaters and the new and the convenience. Those are the three: old, convenience, and new. So to sum them up in one phrase, it's like the old is the Pope can't ever be wrong, therefore the Pope isn't the Pope and there's no Pope. That's like sedevacantist kind of position, right? Then there's the convenience party, which is like the Pope can't ever be wrong right now because this Pope agrees with me on stuff like, you know, promoting homosexual priests and stuff like that. Like, Father James Martin is a huge, like, convenience papalater. Everything Pope Francis says is gospel, but everything Pope Benedict said was completely wrong. And then the new guys, and it's summed up basically like the Pope can't be wrong, so we kind of have to twist ourselves into pretzels to pretend that everything he says is right. And if you criticize it, you're in schism. And there's more of these guys than I thought. When I started digging, I found more and more people saying stuff like everything the Pope says publicly has to be accepted without question. Mm-hmm. And even some people saying everything any bishop says can't be questioned, even if it's strictly against tradition. That one really, I couldn't believe what I read. So I immediately am just like, which bishop? I'm sure any statement of any bishop, I could go and find a different bishop saying the opposite, no matter how heretical,
Right. It's actually quite alarming because, for me at least, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the thing that has always attracted me to Catholicism has been the academic tradition, the intellectual tradition of the church, the fact that it allows me to ask questions, and it gives me the freedom and the space to seek and to learn and to grow. Yes, of course, faith seeking understanding, right? Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. But I mean, when it comes to this stuff, it's like, it doesn't seem Catholic at all. It seems almost in a way like, it seems Protestant. It seems more like Mormonism in a way, because, no, you can't question your leaders. You can't. Yeah. It feels really, I don't know. It's not the Catholicism that I've fell in love with at all. It seems like a fake one.
It's kind of like celebrity worship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very
Where it's just like,
so, yeah.
If you think that, Benedict Cumberbatch isn't the best actor, then you clearly have no taste in cinema.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I
can't
mean?
even.
Gotta Insta this picture.
Literally can't even right now.
Poster. Yeah. But it's like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also kind of a lot like Protestant views of Catholicism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially American, like, Protestant views of, like, you can't be a patriot if you're a Catholic because you have to obey the dictator Pope in Rome, Mm-hmm. If you're Catholic, you're a citizen of the Vatican and he's going to command you to betray your country and stuff, right? That was kind of the black legend spread about Catholics in the States for the longest time, right?
Wow. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
There's a lot of old, like, propaganda posters to that effect coming out of the States. Like, there's a famous one with an octopus or something. I don't know. It's just like got different words on all the tentacles. I like some of these old propaganda
anti-Catholic
things.
propaganda.
Yeah. But I think that is still kind of a view among some Protestants anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like we're becoming the parody.
Yeah, exactly. I think, do you want to dig into like a little bit of the arguments behind these recent kind of accusations?
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah, a lot. What I keep hearing is this phrase from Lumen Gentium, religious submission of the will and intellect. You've heard this phrase probably before. So I can read the context from Lumen Gentium if you guys want.
Yeah.
Please.
So it says here, in matters of faith and morals, the bishops speak in the name of Christ, and the faithful are to accept their teaching and adhere to it with a religious submission of the soul. This religious submission of will and intellect must be shown in a special way to the authentic magisterium of the Roman pontiff, even when he is not speaking ex cathedra. That is, it must be shown in such a way that his supreme magisterium is acknowledged with reverence, and that the judgments made by him are sincerely adhered to according to his manifest mind and will. Yeah, so that's the quote from Lumen Gentium. So you can see at first glance how there's some confusion there. Like, people see that phrase, religious submission of the will and intellect, and they think it's absolute, right?
Yeah, I could see it's very easy to take that the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Chris and Julie, you guys have some experience with religious superiors and what it means to have submission in that sense, right? As Carmelites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
I mean, we recognize that those who are in authority over us are placed there by God, right? Mm-hmm. It is His supreme will that He has allowed them to be there. But again, we recognize that their authority is limited, right? They don't have supreme authority over everything, especially with regards to faith and morals. Mm-hmm. And we recognize that they can't ask things of us that would go against the teachings of the church or against canon law and things like that, especially because our community is actually has been canonically recognized or whatever. I can't remember what the word is. But yeah, we're officially like under canon law now, so they can't even like tread on that.
So it's kind of analogous to the situation. Obviously, bishops do have a certain authority to teach faith and morals, and that's what this is all about, right? But in a similar way, it also doesn't mean that they are above the church, even the Pope himself, right? Even as he's given the authority to teach faith and morals authoritatively, it's taught in a Catholic way, right? Like, where you can't back up and change the tradition that's established and stuff like that.
Right. I don't know if you've kind of seen this online, but I've seen it where they use that question or that statement by, was it Irenaeus who said, where Peter is, there's the church.
Oh, absolutely.
And they use that all the time, but he said where Peter is, there is the church. He didn't say what Peter is, there is the church, or who Peter is, there is the church.
And praise God for that, because if you've read about some medieval popes, I mean, there's rapists, there's like just absolutely awful.
Really bad men.
Man, yeah. And actually, it's funny, that quote is the name of one of the biggest perpetrators of this. Where Peter is, it's a blog.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all about papolatry. That's literally their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Is finding anyone who criticizes Pope Francis and accusing them of schism.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Now, answer this question because I'm kind of a noob. So, Ultramontanism, is that the same thing as papolatry?
They're both kind of, from what I understand, they're both kind of like Protestant criticisms of Catholicism originally, but papolatry in particular has been kind of adopted by people within the church criticizing this trend.
Okay.
Like, they were both, and it's appropriate because these people are kind of becoming what the Protestants accused us of. You know what I mean? That was kind of the thing, right? Like, if you're a Catholic at the time of the Reformation, they'd say, oh, you're a papalater, papist, ultramontanist, whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know too much of the nuance of if there's any difference there, but 99% sure they all originate from Protestantism. Yeah.
Okay. Was there something else?
There was a couple things. So I wanted to talk about the whole, I don't know if I put this in the show notes, but I wanted to talk about the whole John the 22nd situation a little bit. And then I had another point about how the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith has kind of indirectly addressed this fairly recently in their guidelines for theologians. They actually have basically guidelines on how you disagree with the ordinary magisterium that's non-infallible.
That's awesome.
Basically implying it's not schism. They have a guideline on how to do it and be faithful. So there's that.
Okay.
Since I kind of, I don't really need to quote it per se, but
Maybe we can include it in the show notes.
Yeah,
we can get that link. Yeah,
they basically talk about how if you're in disagreement with something that's ordinary magisterium, like, say, footnotes of Amoris Laetitia, for example, you are to remain open to the truth. You're to continue studying, stuff like that, and to basically trust that the truth will come out and stuff like that. They have guidelines against, like for theologians, they suggest you basically inform the Pope first before you go public, which, oh, if only Burke had done that. Just kidding, he did, for anyone who doesn't know. Yeah, so basically what they did with the dubia is basically what the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith says to do.
Yeah. So they basically followed it to the T.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention quickly on it is what happened with John the 22nd. Are you guys familiar with him?
No.
He caused a bit of controversy. He's one of the Avignon popes, I think. But he basically taught heresy for a while and caused a huge uproar, and then he recanted on his deathbed, and his successor dogmatically pronounced that he was wrong. He said that those who die in the state of grace don't actually see the beatific vision until after the final judgment.
Wow.
Yeah, and he taught this for about 4 years publicly in sermons and in letters. And there was basically a huge uprising of people writing and preaching against him. He, at the time, the Dominicans were a huge influence in the church, and they were very orthodox, unlike today. Sad panda.
Some Dominicans.
Some Dominicans, the local ones. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Some of the local ones. But anyways, basically the entire Dominican order started preaching against the Pope. And it was really significant because he was, up until that point, a huge promoter of the Dominicans. And he had recently just canonized Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they loved John the 22nd. But their devotion to the truth was stronger.
Wow.
And they knew he was wrong.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So there's a precedent for it. It's not like this is a new thing in the church. And, yeah, there was no suppression of the Dominicans.
Yeah, there was no Dominican schism, you know,
Yeah.
in the 1300s when that happened. Yeah.
Because they intuitively knew that it was done out of filial piety still for the office of the Pope.
Yeah, and there was some bitterness too. Like there were some Dominicans that were, I guess, in his opinion, too vocal about it. He had some of them prosecuted for heresy, and there were ones investigated by the Inquisition.
Oh wow,
stuff like that. But
so maybe it wasn't all respectfully received.
Definitely not all respectfully received. Although it wasn't schism, the Pope was not happy about it. He did not like the fact that they weren't accepting his teaching. And yeah, he found some ways to punish some of them. But again, it wasn't a schism. They were faithful, and they were just preaching the truth. So, yeah. And then, yeah, by God's grace, Pope John the 22nd did actually recant right before his death and admitted that the Orthodox Catholic position was true. And his successor immediately basically issued a binding dogmatic teaching affirming the traditional belief that, if you die and go to heaven, you immediately experience the beatific vision. You don't wait until the last judgment.
Yeah, well, if you go to heaven, right, you see it.
Yes, sorry if I didn't say that. Yeah, that's true. You do not experience it if you go to hell.
Yeah.
Or purgatory. Yeah.
Hashtag Father Robert Barron.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
It happened to Judas.
I'm going to take that back. I shouldn't say hashtag Father Robert Barron because he's a bishop.
Bishop, yes.
Bishop.
Sorry, I didn't even notice. Because there's so many videos where he's Father Robert Barron. So it just has a ring of rightness still, I guess. That's a total aside, but...
Yeah, it's so the weird thing that I see kind of happening too, right? Like it more than anything right now, it's in a time in our culture, in the world, where Catholics really should be banding together because it's about to all come crashing down and like things are going to get crazy pretty quick. Yeah. This is divide and conquer. This is, it's so sad that there's Catholics attacking Catholics,
Yeah.
But again, I can't remember what Marian prophecy that it was, but it was talking about, maybe it was La Salette, the fact that, in these times it's going to be confusing, it's going, you're not going to be, it's basically, she warned against being deceived because it's going to be so easy to be deceived about things. Right. So maybe that's kind of a good segue into our next topic.
Yeah. Amazon Synod. Why don't you introduce the Amazon Synod?
Tell the people how you really feel, Brooke.
All right.
They can hear it in your sigh, but you can elaborate.
Let's hear the sigh again a little bit more clearly.
That's better.
Sounds like the wind through the trees of the rainforest. It's integral development of dialogue.
Ecology.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Mother Nature.
Mother Father.
Mother Earth.
Okay, so
Dialogue.
the Amazon Synod, from how I understand it, is a synod that's taking place to discuss issues about the Amazon. And it's not taking place in the Amazon. It's taking place in Rome. I believe it's October 6th or 7th. Something like that.
Yeah,
Anybody confirm?
Anybody want to be the Snopes on this fake news?
I already forgot what date Brooke said.
6th or 7th. October 6th or 7th. So it's very, very soon. It's such a climate change. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's such a climate change.
Julie is doing the very thing that I was doing.
Your mom's a climate change.
Yeah, there's a Wikipedia page for it. So
okay.
where we can get all our information.
For the record, though, there is fake news on that Wikipedia article.
Well, are the dates at least correct?
I think
6th
so.
to 27th of October?
There you go. Yeah.
I will point out the fake news in a little bit.
Okay.
From just that Wikipedia article. It's actually quite appalling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're advertising it as a means of trying to, remedy this relationship with people in the Amazon, to try and help with climate change, to ultimately absolutely paganize Catholic culture.
That's not their express reasoning.
You know what? They're calling it, they're calling it climate change and dialogue and ecology and something else, but really they're using that as a platform to do other things.
Yeah, 100%. It comes through really clearly. Yeah. My thought when reading it was, like, at first, it might seem like there's an orthodox intention here. Mm-hmm. Like things like to improve evangelization by understanding the Amazonian people and kind of enriching the church with the good parts of their culture, kind of like the church has done in other missionary fields. But it very quickly takes that and then goes further and further. It goes too far and then goes way overboard into just literally straight up pantheism
Yeah.
and craziness. Like,
I mentioned this to you guys, that it's very much like appropriating voodoo culture into Catholicism. And this happens in, like, you know, South America quite often.
yeah, Mexico too.
Yeah. It's almost the same thing. And they're trying to integrate pagan Amazon rituals and practices and terminology and mythology with Catholicism.
Well, kind of like this weird, like, give and take of, like, okay, well, you know, we want you to learn about Catholicism, so I guess we're kind of going to have to do a bit of give and take.
Yeah.
You learn about us, and we learn about you, and we try to come together as one people, and, like...
Maybe too under the guise of, because I think there was a kind of a message or a mention of the mistreatment of people that have been done, that has been done, even like, what was it, back in, let me see, bear with me, I had to find it again. This is the beauty of editing.
Yep.
Right?
Can I say one thing, too?
Yeah, go for it.
It's not like we don't sympathize for peoples that have been marginalized or pushed off to the side or are living in horrible conditions, you know, such as the, you know, Amazon people that are legit losing their homes and whatnot and are in bad situations because of deforestation and bad economic practices. It's just the Synod is using this as a platform to do other bad things.
And one of the things, like, just to kind of tie our show together and explain it if it's not clear, the reason we talk about the whole papolatry topic beforehand is just to kind of lay the groundwork of, yes, this is in some sense a church document. It's not really magisterial, but it's a church document, and it contains error. That's the bottom line. It contains objective error, and that doesn't mean that we're criticizing the church or the faith in any way or being schismatic. It means we're defending the church against the error in this document, which has the potential to lead people astray.
Yep.
So
There's been an awful lot of that lately, and it is getting worse.
yeah,
And starting to get really sick of it. I don't know about you guys, but, like, it just, you know,
do you really
I
not
am
know?
so full.
Even after I read the document, like the instrumentum, I was so angry that what was written was written. That someone had the idea to think that was a good idea. Yeah. And you know what? There was probably heart in, you know, a desire to aid people. But this is not going to aid people. They're not seeking to evangelize these people at all.
No, they're two separate things.
Yeah. They don't want to do what, you know, the Jesuits back in the day actually did as missionaries. They really just want to, I don't know.
That's kind of an important point that you're touching on with the Jesuit missionaries.
Yeah.
Like, there's a note of shaming the Catholic missionaries who made converts in this region, and basically implying that they shouldn't have converted people to Catholicism.
Yeah.
They should have, you know, just become part of the culture of the Amazon.
The interesting, again, the context too, that recent statement from the Holy Father about feeling bitterness with regards to the those who were converts from Africa, right? I mean, he legitimately said that he felt a sense of bitterness. And what was the comment he said? He said evangelization,
not
yes, proselytism.
Proselytism, no. Yeah.
And like, but again, it was like shared in the context of like, I'm happy I converted, you know?
Yeah, it was like this. I think she was introducing two converts, and she said this person converted from Hinduism and this person converted from something else. I forget what.
Yeah.
And
he felt they were being introduced like trophies.
Yeah.
Like I made this big catch.
Yeah.
You know. The funny thing is I have to laugh about that because even so our Lord uses that language himself.
Absolutely.
I will make you fishers of men. Well,
and scripturally, do we not hear about how the shepherd goes off to find the one lost sheep?
Yep.
And then he celebrates with his neighbors and his friends?
Yeah, so this kind of imagery is not foreign at all.
No.
You know.
It's a big deal. It's something to be celebrated.
yeah.
Absolutely.
When people either find the church or come home to the church.
Yeah.
Especially when they leave paganism, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And Hinduism is paganism. It's straight up. Yeah. So.
Did you find what you were looking for there, Chris?
No, and here's the interesting thing. Since I last checked, somebody has updated the Wikipedia article.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. As Julie knocks over her microphone.
Almost. It didn't
But,
actually
so
happen.
my point from earlier is completely moot because they fixed the wording. Because they had basically said online, essentially, that with regards to married priests, that the Holy Father said it would not be discussed. That was like the line that was on the Wikipedia article from when I read it earlier, but it's now been corrected to say that it will not be one of the main topics, which according to a La Stampa article, Pope Francis said that the possibility of ordaining a viri probati is absolutely not, viri probati is married men, is absolutely not among the main topics and is simply a number in the Instrumentum Laboris. For the record, we know just the problems that a footnote, can create in documents from the Vatican.
Yeah.
Now, I do actually see here, though, if we're talking the same Wikipedia article,
Yeah.
there is a paragraph I just found here. It's short, so I'll just read it, but that the Synod's preparatory document, Instrumentum Laboris, titled Amazonia, New Paths for the Church and for an Integral Ecology, was published on 17 June 2019. The key issues of the Instrumentum Laboris were the ordination of married men, the role for women in the church, and environmental concerns.
Yeah.
Yep.
And most of those things are in the final chapter of the Instrumentum, I think, save for a lot of the climate change stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say? So, I mean, all of those topics are in
All of them.
the working document?
Yes.
Which you read.
Yes.
And, I mean, what would you say the breakdown kind of is?
Like for
how
the-
much of ordination of married men do they talk about and role for women in the church, and how much of it was about environmental concerns?
Okay, I would say about 70% of the Instrumentum Laboris is all about climate change, integration, dialogue with the Amazonian people, and then they are saying in order to aid in remedying those problems, that allowing for lay people or men who already have established roles in the tribes, even if they have families, should become priests, that women who have things to say or teach or whatnot should also be considered of positions of authority. And that's their wording too, that women should have positions of authority.
Ew.
Let me try and find the exact
Julie says ew, but I
Yep.
mean, she's the real authority in our household. So
Yep, something like that.
Aaron and Matt can attest to that.
Promote the role of women, recognizing their fundamental functions in the formation and continuity of cultures, in spirituality, in communities and families. Women must assume a leadership role within the church. That is their exact wording.
From the Instrumentum.
From the Instrumentum. Yeah.
I mean, we all recognize the role of women in the continuity of society.
Yeah, I mean, women definitely
That's not
have
a thing
role,
the church has a problem with.
Yes.
but it's not.
That was quite a leap, though,
Yeah.
to just that last sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the beginning of that paragraph didn't lead into it at all.
Well, even these excerpts, they're not taken out of context, is the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly as they're written is exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to it.
Yeah, I had a thought like that too when I was reading the Burke and Schneider thing, and they drop a whole ton of quotes from the Instrumentum Laboris, and some of them are just jaw-dropping. And I thought, is that really what it says?
Yeah.
This has to be out of context. And like I said, I think when we were doing the Facebook Live, you look at the context and it's even worse.
Well, and even here's another thing that they wanted to do. Their solutions to to some of the issues is to rethink church structures, overcoming the outdated cultural forms that have been acquired over the centuries. Word for word. And this should alarm people.
Yeah, it really should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about we rethink the Novus Ordo, guys?
Yeah.
Let's rethink everything.
That's kind of the same logic, though, they took with the liturgy, right?
Yeah.
Just take out these obsolete things that have accreted over the centuries. These accretions. I don't know where they got that word, but
No, we don't hate you if you go to the Novus Ordo.
No. Yeah. To be clear, no, we don't.
Yes.
but
No.
We only hate those that hate us for going to the Latin Mass. Just
No,
kidding.
we don't.
No,
we
we don't.
don't. I'm only kidding.
No,
we
I
love
think-
them enough to make fun of them and tell them they're wrong.
Exactly.
This is truth. This is truth.
No, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, at least my thought on it or perspective is say Christ calls us to become part of the church, not for the church to become part of the people and the culture and whatever else you're trying to, however else you're trying to change the church so people will, I don't know, come and become Catholic. But it's again, it seems to change with whatever culture that you're looking at or trying to integrate it into.
Yeah.
No, that isn't how this works.
Yeah, there's
Christ is calling us to just become like him, become one with the Father.
Not
and-
Mother Nature, Earth.
Exactly. So
No one comes to the Father but by me, right?
No.
And
Yeah.
Brooke had shared this great quote, if I can interject real
yeah,
quick.
please.
So again, from the Instrumentum. So there is a broad and essential arena of dialogue between the Amazon spiritualities, creeds, and religions that requires an approach of the heart to the different cultures. Respect for this space does not mean relativizing one's own convictions, but recognizing other avenues, pathways that seek to decipher the inexhaustible mystery of God. Insincere openness to the other, just like a corporatist attitude that reserves salvation exclusively for one's own creed, are destructive to that very creed. This is what Jesus explained to the doctor of the law in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Not true. Love lived in any religion pleases God.
Wrong.
Through an exchange of gifts, the Spirit can lead us ever more fully into truth and goodness. Again, this is not the gospel.
No. Let's say, okay, who is it? Saint Paul going into the Pantheon and saying, and talking about the statue of the unknown God and saying, this is the one that you're looking for, and telling them who that was.
I was just thinking about that song by Theocracy.
Oh. But no, I mean, the whole point that, I think it's important to, if you're going to evangelize other people in other cultures, you need to understand them, their experience, what they believe. You need to know how their culture works. Like, that is an important part of evangelization, but not integrating that into,
Like, that's the thing. The church always, takes on the language of the people and learns how they speak.
Exactly.
But always communicates and always has communicated clearly the gospel. Like, think about St. Francis Xavier going into Japan.
Yeah.
Or think about St. Damien of Molokai going to the people in the leper colony in
the Philippines?
Hawaii.
Hawaii, yeah.
Going there and learning their language and, to the point of even becoming like them in their leprosy.
Yeah.
I mean, but still holding fast to the truth of the gospel and the teachings of the church.
Now, one thing I will say, it's a slight positive to the instrumentum. And this is just a slight positive. The fact that they want to aid people with schools is good. The fact that they want to help people out of sex trafficking, out of, drug abuse, out of, gun violence, those are good things. However,
they don't belong in the Synod.
They do not belong in the Synod.
Like, that's just normal social justice that you should be doing as a Catholic anyway.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly. We don't need a Synod to recognize these things as problems.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, these are political things, not
I'm sorry.
theological
Exactly.
things, not the arena of the church.
Let's be honest. The people that are helping the people get out of sex trafficking, it's not the bishops.
No.
Right?
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, you hear about the stories of the sisters that are working in places like Cambodia and like places like that. They're the ones picking up the girls off the street and bringing them into the church.
And those are the missions that I think we would want to be hearing from more.
Exactly.
But we don't need this Synod to act as a platform for those things. It's like they're trying to say, look at all these good things that we're doing, but the under agenda that's happening is just toxic.
Can we go back to that quote for a second? Because I don't want to let that go without
Go
closely analyzing the contradiction of this paragraph.
Can we read that quote again that we're talking about?
Let me just highlight a couple parts of it just so I can think about it. Like, it says, respect for this space does not mean relativizing one's own convictions. Okay, so we're not going to relativize the faith, apparently. We're not going to water down any part of the Catholic faith. Let's move on next. So, but recognizing other avenues that seek to decipher the inexhaustible mystery of God. No. The church does claim to be the only way to come to God. So right away, you're relativizing the faith in the same sentence. And then the next sentence, like, it says insincere openness to the other, just like a corporatist attitude, which when I typed this out, by the way, it wasn't recognized as a word, that reserve salvation exclusively for one's own creed are destructive of that very creed. So let me just say this in case it's not obvious. The church reserves salvation for itself, for its own creed.
Yeah,
our Lord said, no one comes to the Father except through me.
In other words, there is no salvation outside of the church.
The church teaches, extra ecclesiam nulla salus. There's no salvation except Jesus Christ in the Catholic Church.
Yep.
The church teaches that. If you teach something else, you are relativizing. You are denying the faith, period. Mm-hmm. You can't just say, no, we're not relativizing. We're just saying that you can be saved through Amazon pagan superstitions as well. No, you can't.
Yeah,
that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they've really, really emphasized the idea of integration, like just forcing things that are not Catholic into Catholicism. Mm-hmm. And that goes right with the idea of relativization. Like,
Yeah.
I understand that, love of neighbor and whatnot is incredibly important. But the truth is, like when it says love lived in any religion pleases God, not every religion defines love in the way that the church defines love.
And not every person. I mean, look at the way that the world defines love.
Oh, but love is love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
again, through an exchange of gifts, the Spirit can lead us ever more fully into truth and goodness. Which Spirit is leading you, though?
Yeah, because they talk about in this same document.
I thought the Holy Spirit would lead us into all truth.
And
Yes.
stuff, listening
Spirit.
to
With
the
the
Spirit.
Spirit. Yeah.
There's
Yeah. And they're not talking about whiskey. They're talking about the pagan gods of the Amazon.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I need to have another whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's that quote? Yeah. In addition, oral culture. I want to give, before I do this, I want to give huge props to Brooke, because she just went through this entire document like a boss.
Yeah.
and was sharing huge, like,
I'm so
quote.
sorry.
Dropping all the
I'm
juicy
so
quotes
sorry.
in our chat.
Yeah.
It's the most recent reading that I have done in a long time.
You poor girl.
But you know what? I was just like, no, if we're going to talk about this, I'm going to know exactly what it said. And I'm going to read everything. Like, I've listened to all the other people talk about it. I needed to know if it was what they were saying it was.
Yeah.
So,
maybe
There you go.
get you to read that quote from number 39.
Yeah.
okay. I have to pull it up if that's
the
okay.
one we just read.
Did you? The dialogue with the spirits? Oh yeah, you did read that. Yeah. Never mind then. I take it back.
It's yeah.
No, I think you mean a different paragraph. Because the one with the one that I was talking about is 39.
Yeah. No, that's the one that makes the reference to in dialogue with the spirits, right? Where it says, in short, the family is where one learns to live in harmony between between generations, with nature, in dialogue with the spirits.
No, that's a different paragraph. That's 75. That's in 75.
Oh, is it? Okay, she just put 39 there. Thought it was.
Here's another thing that I can add into that. It is necessary to grasp what the Spirit of the Lord has taught these people throughout the centuries. Faith in the God, Father, Mother, Creator, communion and harmony with the earth, solidarity with one's companions, striving for, quote, good living, the wisdom of civilizations going back thousands of years, that which the elderly possess, and which influences health, life together, education, cultivation of the land, the living relationship with nature and Mother Earth, the capacities of resistance, and the oh my gosh, it just goes on.
So we can take some, like, a lot of this works because it has some veneer of truth. Like, there's a reference to, like, the law of God on people's hearts, even though they haven't heard the gospel.
Yeah, the natural law, right?
Yeah.
People can realize that there's a creator and, have certain good elements of society. So,
I mean, you can see that, like, on the surface.
So that's kind of like what they're sort of getting at, but then they also pull in some sketchy stuff like, personalizing the earth and stuff like that, treating the earth as a pagan goddess and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This other quote that Brooke had shared, therefore, it is proposed to value traditional medicine, the wisdom of the elders, and indigenous rituals, and at the same time to facilitate access to medicines that cure new diseases. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell a very quick anecdote. Okay, so I heard this from a friend of mine that worked in the charismatic renewal. You guys have probably heard this story before.
Yes. This story is crazy.
So they were doing an event, I believe it was in Africa.
Yep.
And they were doing an evangelization event.
Healing type of thing.
And they decided to pray with people. And they had lots of priests and stuff to pray with them, exorcists and whatnot. And one of them got a sense that they needed to call out the witch doctors.
Oh gosh.
And so all the witch doctors came out of this large crowd. Now, keep in mind, at this event, there was, thousands of people. And in one particular area, there was all of the handicapped people, that had disabilities. Canes, walk,
stuff.
and wheelchairs and things like that, all kind of segregated in one area. All of the witch doctors came and stood forward, and they all started with them and had priests praying with them, and they all started to kind of manifest demons, right? But one in particular wasn't. Now, they all suddenly, as the priest started praying more intently, all of these witch doctors, except one, started puking, but they were puking this white substance. They've come to find out later that the puke that was there was the potions, was like one of the potions that they would give to people. So they were puking up their own potions. Then, but there was one that just wasn't doing anything, and he was looking incredibly demonic and possessed. So they kind of focused on him, and he puked up a snake.
No.
Okay, so he pukes up this snake, and it's like crawling across the ground, and one of the people take like a shovel and killed it. As they killed it, all of the people that were in the section of like where the disabled people were all stood up out of their wheelchairs because they had all gone to the witch doctor to get healed for their illnesses.
No way.
So it like broke whatever curse that was on there. Let's come back to this.
About the traditional medicine.
Therefore, it's proposed to value traditional medicine, the wisdom of the elders, and indigenous rituals. This is bullcrap.
Yeah.
This is bullcrap.
Yeah.
The church cannot ever accept witchcraft as real medicine.
Nope.
It's giving a stone when asked for bread. It's the complete opposite of what the church is supposed to do. Sorry, I'm getting a little red in the face. Yeah, I need to get some whiskey. Excuse me.
Julie is driving.
Pause moment. Yeah,
I thought it was just a figure of speech, but he's actually getting up to get whiskey.
Can I have some too?
Can I have some too?
No, you can't,
No.
Julie. No, but seriously, can I have a little bit?
Thousands of tears later.
I don't know if you've been kind of reading. There's a kind of a good website as well that's sharing some good articles. It's called Pan Amazon Synod Watch.info. They share a lot of good articles, and in one of the articles they talk about Julio Laredo, the author of Liberation Theology, a life jacket for the poor made of lead. I love that. I love that title. Laredo has expressed his overwhelming concern his concern for the overwhelming role that progressive German bishops are taking at the Amazon Synod. German prelates, in fact, have played a key role in pre-synod meetings, financing of the October Synod being held October 6th to 27th at the Vatican. Again, if you have been following Catholic anything in the last 5 years, you'll know that the German bishops have been pushing for incredibly heretical things. Cardinal Casper, Cardinal Marx, these crazies. He says here, the Germans are using the Amazon River to help the Rhine flow into the Tiber. Bishop Franz Josef Overbeck of Essen, who was one of the synod organizers, was very clear about its goals. Quote, after the synod, nothing will be the same in the church. The synod will mark a break in the church.
That sounds terrifying.
That means a schism, like an actual one, not just a mild criticism of Pope Francis, therefore you're a schism. No, like an actual break in the church.
Yeah.
There will be those that like side with actual church teaching and those that side with whatever this you want to call the heresy is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm convinced that it'll actually come to a head after this synod, or if it'll continue to get worse afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to know.
There are any number of times when the modernist heresy has gotten worse and it could have been a schismatic moment. Like, even decades ago, Assisi could have been a schismatic moment, but it wasn't really. Unless you count the SSPX, which I don't really, but...
Yeah. So, another quote from this good article that I'll include in the show notes. So, this synod, right, is really going to be incorporating a lot of liberation and indigenous theology. And referring to this, Peruvian Cardinal Pedro Barreto declared that the Synod, quote, brings to completion a process begun in the Latin American Church 40 years ago. The author says, having studied the subject for almost half a century, I can say that the fingerprints of liberation theology are all over the place, albeit in more up-to-date and radical versions already tending towards pantheism, like Mike was saying. Yeah. The people that are coming out as well to this synod, the people that they're putting on platforms and giving the ability to speak, there's a lot of people that are saying no, they do not speak for the Amazon people. And like, for example, it says here that a guy by the name of Kaipo Chief Rayoni Mutaktire was recently received by European leaders, including Pope Francis and President Macron. But according to the indigenous leader Kena Munduruku, I can't say that, Munduruku, they said, Rayoni does not represent us, Amazonian peoples. According to Kena, Rayoni simply represents the NGOs that have abusively assumed the right to speak for us. Who gave them this right? We know who we are and what we want. We don't need the NGOs, which, by the way, are millionaires while the Amazonian people suffer, end quote. So, again, we've been talking about kind of that, especially with our Communion in the Hand episode. We talked about how the bishops in Canada said that there has been in the Canadian people this desire, a renewed desire to receive the Lord in the hand.
The venerable tradition of receiving the Lord in their hands.
Yeah.
And again, here we see these cardinals and bishops kind of creating this fake news when the Amazonian people are not asking for these things.
Yeah, if you didn't catch the Communion in the Hand episode, that was a lie from the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops. Yeah. It wasn't a move from the people. It was something imposed from on high on the people. Yeah. And this is the same thing.
Yep. And the thing is, like, there's actually a big conference happening the day before the synod actually starts, called Amazon the Stakes, which it's pretty serious. And they're bringing out some incredible people, beginning with Prince Bertrand de Orleans y Braganza, Prince Imperial of Brazil, and author of the bestseller Environmentalist Psychosis. Professor Luis Carlos Molian, a well-known climatologist from the University of Alagoas in Brazil. An important speaker will be Jonas Macuxi de Souza, an indigenous leader from the Macuxi tribe in Roraima. He will bring the voice of the real Amazonian Indians to Rome. So this is all from that link that I'll include in the show notes. Maybe
we should touch on some of the other resistance to the Synod in Rome. Yeah. Have you guys been following? There's been a group of lay people doing silent prayer in the square in front of St. Peter's. Wow. There's been priests gathering to pray prayers of exorcism over the Vatican.
They did that on the Vigil of Michaelmas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Incredible. People are really stepping up, recognizing the evil of this synod, stepping up to fight it spiritually. Yeah, which is amazing. Yeah, Bishop Athanasius Snyder and Cardinal Burke asking for the 40 days of prayer and fasting. Yeah. Which we're all doing.
Yeah.
Join us.
Yeah.
Please.
One of us.
Yeah. And a funny note in, I guess, all the resistance stuff. I saw on Twitter, Michael Matt from The Remnant. He just posted a quick video on Twitter where he walked out of his hotel room into the streets of Rome, and who's walking by but Father James Martin.
Oh my goodness.
Literally just strolling down the street with his hat.
Oh my gosh.
Just to be clear, it was a light brown hat, not a Saturno, so he's not rigid.
Not so rigid. Not so rigid. Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to transition into the paragraph thing?
Yeah.
We have really...
So maybe we can
Yeah,
kinda end with a final thought on this, though.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is the takeaway from the Amazon Synod? It's trouble.
It's trouble.
Pray and fast for the church, because the Amazon Synod is an attack on the church.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say to go read the Instrumentum Laboris, but at the same time, I feel
It's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid or looking under a rock. Something
Yeah.
like that. Like, you're going to see some insects. in
it's
this
available. Know what's happening. And
Beware.
Yeah.
Be informed.
Don't take our word for it.
Yeah. Like go read it yourself.
Yeah.
All of it. All of it.
Yeah.
Not just parts of it. All of it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
pray.
So,
and fast. Yeah.
so, in typical our friendship fashion, we have to find some way to make light of this.
Yeah.
So, tell us the.
This was
the thing.
inspired by Rurate Cheli on Twitter. They made a paragraph making fun of the just obtuse and the weaponized ambiguity type language of the Synod document. And they basically said, like, do you have a suggestion for an Amazon Synod paragraph? Share it below with hashtag Amazon Synod paragraphs. So I'll read the one they wrote first. This is a suggested paragraph for Amazon Synod final document. Deep in the cosmos lies the mystery of human sexuality in the peripheries of the forest, as the spirits of the ancestors of native people gather to engender the song of humankind's relationship with Mother Earth. So just the kind of like word salad, ambiguous, meaningless crap.
Makes no sense,
Yeah.
but
So maybe
We've written some Amazon Synod paragraphs
Yeah.
to share.
Yeah.
So
I did not, I was
we would
driving.
also Brooke's idea was that we'd love to hear from our listeners who had the better paragraph.
yeah.
So-
Okay.
By better do we mean worst paragraph?
I don't
The
know.
However
one
you
most
choose.
in line with like
Brooke,
that it
moves
would
you.
fit.
Brooke, are
in the
you
document.
imposing a rigid meaning on the word best? Let them explore alternative pathways.
Okay, mea culpa, mea culpa.
Yeah.
Whoa, she's using Latin.
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry.
Vernacular only, please. Okay, so
do you
whose
have?
paragraph is first?
Brooks.
Okay. It is of utmost importance to dialogue with all around us. So often, however, we fail to acknowledge our designated spirit animal. The Amazons can aid the Church to reclaim these spirits, to assist in our communal journey with Mother, Father, Creator Thing.
Me to go next.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Inscrutable technocratic dialogues, just like corporatist spirituality, approach the heart of the Amazon River, whose integral mystery is expressed in the genealogy of the Lord in Matthew chapter 1. Journeying prophetically among the spirits. Hashtag Amazon Synod paragraphs.
Oh my gosh.
And Chris.
Okay. With respect to the mutual enrichment of individuals and communities in the Amazonian region, the Church ardently desires to encourage and build a culture of encounter. With our eyes set towards a future full of promise, the people of God must go out into the peripheries, listening to the Spirit who moves among all people of goodwill. Reciprocal openness can only be realized within the context of true reconciliation and life-giving generosity and dialogue. Unity among peoples is of utmost importance to the Church and must be sought with enduring fervor.
It just keeps going. Just like the actual document.
You know what? Every time I thought I was getting to the end, I wasn't. It's like, there's more.
I'm so glad I broke you with that genealogy thing. That was my favorite.
but that's the thing, like with that quote where it was like, let's just jam in here a random thing that does not prove anything.
It was definitely a shout out to that. This is what the Lord was saying in this parable. It's
like what? Yeah. Like, have you what? This isn't even like historical critical approach to the scriptures at all. This is just Protestantism, like proof texting and weird proof texting.
It's even worse than proof texting. I literally think they just didn't even read the story. They were just like, oh yeah, it's kind of like when he said that a person from another religion came and helped the guy. That's it, right? That's what happened.
That's so nice.
They were there smoking some doobies and writing the Instrumentum Laboris.
Something like that.
Or they did like a keyword search and then it just kind of came up with the first thing and they're like, copy, paste.
Yeah.
That's it. No context.
Just like a random word generator.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
I feel like one of their favorite, stories from scripture that, I mean, they must have it in somewhere. You could probably confirm this, Brooke, is the feeding of the 5,000.
They don't.
What?
Nope.
Because I'm like, they gotta, taking care of the needs of the people and, helping to enrich their spirits.
You should read it. You should read it.
I'm reading some of the other paragraphs people have posted. There's some great stuff.
Let's hear some good ones.
Someone's just, its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you.
Who said that?
Just some random person on Twitter.
Yeah, give the shout out. What's the at?
At CM_HD1.
Okay.
Sorry, that's not a very descriptive name, but shout out to you, buddy. That was a great Star Wars quote. Oh, man.
Yeah.
To deny the Amazonian face of the Mother Spirit is to rupture the solicitude of the pancreative people of God.
I feel like a pancreas after reading that document.
I feel like I have pancreatitis. Yeah.
Yikes.
Wow. This is great.
Yeah.
And bad and great.
Yeah.
Who was that last one?
Thank you for suffering with us, readers. Oh yeah, who was that great one? What_ever_1.
I love the underscores. Very 90s.
And I love that he was the first person to come up with that name. That's what the one means, right? Yeah.
With the underscore
the opposite
one.
of that.
Oh.
Actually.
Okay.
If he was the first, he wouldn't need a number.
Yep.
It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well then.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for suffering with us,
Yeah.
listeners.
Pray fast.
Yeah.
Offer up the suffering that you've experienced for the church.
Yeah.
We will be too.
Yeah.
For sure. The next podcast is going to be a surprise. So make sure you're connected on social media so you find out what's coming next. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Well,
Cheers.
from all of us here at Theology of the Buddy Studios.
Stay tratty.
Thanks so much for listening to today's podcast. What are your thoughts on the Amazon Synod and the major topics it covers? We'd love to know. Message us on Facebook or DM on Instagram at Theology of the Buddy. Find us on Twitter at TradFriends or email us at theologyofthebuddy@gmail.com. We'd also love for you to send us a voicemail via Facebook Messenger. If you like what you heard today, please consider subscribing to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to great podcasts. Would you also please consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes? We'd greatly appreciate it, as it helps us to get noticed within the larger podcast community. Next week, you will get to hear our first interview of this season, with Steve Picorni of Redeemed Vision, discussing lust and how to overcome it. Make sure you're subscribed so you'll know when it comes out. We'll save you a seat at the table. New episodes are released every Wednesday, so until then, stay tratty.